So last 10 years, 10 years or so, I've been working with this idea of a conversation between the two realms of a moving image and the objects, and trying to see if there is a kind of middle space that one could achieve between the two. And in most of my works with the moving image, the object that you see with the image, moving image is somewhat obviously had a relationship, in the sense that a lot of the objects that you see, you would see in the video, and vice versa. So I've been working with this notion of, this is the first time that I'm working with the moving image, and actually you don't see any of the objects that are represented here in the video, so to say. So this was part of a larger show that I did last year in Bombay, and few of the, I think there's a lot of reverb here, no? Can you hear me? Or yeah. So this was a part of a larger show. There were like really large works, and we have like 3 medium-sized works here, but there is a correlation in terms of the core theme of a story that I heard years ago, and I wanted to work with it. And lot of my works is also about. Can you put that off sound? So. Yeah. So at the core of the show, there's this story that I heard years ago, and I've been wanting to do something with it. So there were 3 sections to the show. One was the enactment of the story. Of course, oblique enactment of the story, and the objects followed the core theme that the way I see as revealed through the story. The story being, the threadbare being, there's a man who goes into a pool of water to take a dip, and he comes out a woman, and the woman goes into her world as if in continuation of her life. And she has a full life, whatever that means, she has a family, and she has she has all these dealings with the worldly life, and circumstances draw her back into the same pool of water, and she takes a dip and comes out a man, and the man goes into his own world. I don't know if it's a separate world, but I think this throws up a lot of these ideas, and this story I found that found in variations across this part of the world, like even from Iran to Afghanistan, there's like all these variations. But I just picked up the threadbare of the story and overlaid it with dialogues that is written by a very dear friend, between it's like almost like a monologue, and that repeats itself in the film as well, that the woman is telling the same story as the man does. So it kind of throws up this idea of possibility of being the other within oneself, or the others within oneself. And the objects that I made have no visual correlation with the film at all, but it's kind of replicating the idea constantly with various materials possible, various images possible. So yeah, if you have any questions, then maybe.
Earlier you have worked with some kind of animation projects, and here another kind of thing with you have played with some
I worked with animation years and years ago, and that's just So a lot of my ideas also come from, in the last 10 years or so, come from our own past, so to say, to be able to make sense of my own present. So like I also did another work with another story that was to do with that was I remember this story being told by A.K. Ramanujan during the black and white era of TV, that I mean, he was narrating this story, and this story remained with me. And then years later, that I found this book by Ramanujan, and like he was this translation of short folk stories. So the first chapter was that. So this came at a time when I could, like, I mean, I had the access to make videos. So we kind of made it in 2 screens. Can we shut that out completely, or is it not possible? So that story as well, I mean, stories are a way of kind of, preserving our history or heritage, or even museumization, as we understand museumization, as opposed to how museums were given to us, and the idea of museums are given to us. So, yeah?
The
Audio, just the audio. So the story goes that there's a woman who has a story and a song that resides in her, and she never does tell the story, or she never does sing the song. And the story and the song inside her wanted to be out there in the world, and they come out while she's asleep. They come out through her breath, they ride on her breath, and they come out into the world. And the story becomes a man's pair of shoes, and the song becomes a man's umbrella, and they lay outside the doorstep of the house. And the husband comes late after his work, and sees this man's umbrella and the shoes, and he's very suspicious of his wife, and he goes and wakes her up and says, like, who's been here? So she doesn't know, and there ensues an argument, and he's angry, and he leaves the house, and he goes out wanders about in anger around the village, and he finally rests at the temple. And at the temple, all the lights of the village from their respective homes, they come and they have a chat, and then he is overhearing this chat, and the light from his house comes late because his wife is still wondering what happened, and she couldn't sleep, or for whatever reason. And all the other lights ask, why are you late? So the light narrates the story of what happened earlier in the evening, and he realizes his mistake and goes back into the house and asks her, why did you not tell me that you had a story and you had a song to sing? So she says, what story, what song? Because she has lost both the story and the song. So I made a film which was in 2 screens. It was like a multiple projection, and and I got the story to be written in Brij Bhasha, in a lyrical form, and I got Raja Kali, a very famous singer, to sing the song on the screen while the enactment unfolds. And for this we made like 2 sets. One was like a private home, and another kind of resembled a public space. So the story kind of, and we shot the story between these 2 sets basically, and then we showed this film with the set that was there as well. So kind of you can actually walk into the set, and you may feel like a part of the story yourself in some ways.
The story is the main cue of your, one of the main cues of your work, or
I mean, either poetry, or I've worked with a very famous Doha, and the whole idea of Kabir and Doha got introduced to me by Kumar Gandharva's rendition of it, and I got more and more interested in that right after my college days, which is like mid-80s. And there was this Gorakhnath poetry that I worked on. It says, Shunya Gad Shahar, Shahar Ghar Basti, Kaun Sota, Kaun Jage Hai. So he establishes this whole kind of city, and so we created this huge architectural space. So I buy a lot of stuff from the second-hand markets, basically. So like a lot of the wood that is used even here, in fact, comes from these second-hand market. So that would have the wood that would have belonged to various dismantled structures in and around to make way for new development. So there is that kind of underlying political kind of messaging that I don't play out kind of very obviously in front, but even here the idea of becoming the other, or the possibility of being the other, and questioning this whole notion of self comes into play. Yeah, self and identity, and we are kind of grappling with so many of issues about our own identities, and like we are our affiliations and allegiances, and so it's constantly playing with that idea of how many of them can you be, or can you see yourself. So one of the performances, my father was a Yakshagana artist. So one of the performances, he's playing the role of Vali in the Vali Sugriva battle, and this is a scene after he's struck by the arrow by Rama. So he turns around, he says, I don't know why you've kind of trying to kill me, because you look like a divine being. And I think the whole idea of Ramayana, the fact that Rama is not aware of his own divinity, is something that he kind of responds to all the situations like a human being, and he says that I'm willing to die. While he says, I'm willing to die by your arrow if you promise that I can become you. So it's so open-ended. So it's also the idea of kind of making things that could be open-ended in and eminently interpretative in nature. So how do we achieve that? So this is one of my concerns, in you can take away the way you have kind of experienced it or experienced life in general. Yeah, if you have any questions, please feel to. Yeah.
Are you going to walk us through that section as well?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, it's meant to be a walkthrough, right? There's not much space. So what happens with the replication here, all these projectors are collected from second-hand markets that I kind of very often go to in Mumbai, and these three are exact replication of the other one in mirror reflection, if you notice. And also the fact that these are not real, these are replicated, kind of achieves a certain amount of travel, that what a projector is, but it's also a redundant object, and that redundancy is played out here in the sense that this is not projecting anything, but set up and it's a setup, it's not real, the whole so it's kind of, and then there is replication within it, so it's playing out the core idea of the story itself, that kind of playing this between this notion of what is real and what is represented and what is not real in that sense. And here, in fact, there's a fan, there's a fan, there's a shadow of the fan and the real shadow, so it kind of replicated. So what is real? And the fan itself is not real, it's carved out of wood. And here it's like a rocking, you are reminded of a rocking horse possibly, and it's not a rocking horse, so it's kind of that doubling happens even here.
Is it something kind of nostalgic, or you have just, when I first questioned you, that you told me that long ago you did some animations. So long ago, where films were existed, and now everything you are working with digital. So different kinds of medias are there. So is it about your trajectory also?
Sorry, I don't
For-
understand. Yeah.
Actually, this is a kind of projection, film projection. So film was a long back, and what you are doing in new media
Yeah.
or in video art through digital media, through digital era. Now we are working, and he is also recording with a digital thing. So film is not there. So it's a long process, long way. So for the last 40 or 50 or last 30 years you have been working. So this kind of things you have tasted all the things that like
It's well, I mean,
reminiscence
yeah,
of
I mean,
films,
it's.
and then
I would stop myself from classifying things, whether it's nostalgia or memory or what is it, and how do we define these things, and I think we need to define things for the matter of communication. But how do you say that seeming opposites can exist within the same space of experience? Like whether you take love, I think love cannot be explained or understood without the idea of loss, of its loss. So how do we, and they are not mutually exclusive to my mind, and this is what I kind of draw from our way of looking at things. Like, I mean, when I say I'm looking at the past, in that sense is very important for me to be able to, these are the things that I kind of draw as aesthetic strategies to make my own work.
thank you.
Yeah, any more questions? Sir.
You, sir.
And these flayed carcasses, what relation are you sort of suggesting or attributing between them and this form of film equipment? Is there a kind of fear of obsolescence that's ingrained in both, or are you? Yeah, just wanted you to.
You said it, yeah. So, I don't know. I just wanted to keep it open-ended in that sense. I may have my own interpretations about the thing. This is what I was talking about earlier here, that like a lot of the works that I see within the world of contemporary art, that converges into a certain kind of idea or a meaning. Constantly it's talking about a convergence. I would like to open it up in some way, like like the way the two lines in the poetry that Shunyagad Shehergar Basti. So he establishes this whole architectural space, and then he also says within the same line that it's all empty. And if it's all empty, then where's the question of someone being kaun sota kaun jage, someone being asleep or someone being awake? But what happens if you separate the two lines, you are left with nothing. And it's also between the images, it's not about those images, that it kind of creates perhaps a cosmetic space for you to experience and kind of take away from it the way you have understood the world or the poetry itself.